The massive view screen in the Galactic Council's war room showed nothing but destruction. Admiral Rose stood motionless, her silvery skin reflecting the red emergency lights as she watched another fleet disappear into the darkness of space. The Void Swarm had just destroyed their 7th battle group this month. "Admiral, we've lost contact with the Rigel Defense Force," reported Captain Smith, his tentacles waving in distress. "The swarm, it's learning from each encounter. Our weapons are becoming less effective." Around the circular command center, representatives from 100 worlds watched in silence. Some had already lost their home planets to the swarm. The massive cloud of cosmic destroyers had emerged from the unknown regions 6 months ago, consuming everything in its path: planets, ships, and even stars. The Admiral's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thought among her species. "Show me the pattern of the swarm's advance," she ordered. The map changed, displaying the swarm's path through the galaxy. It wasn't random. The swarm was moving systematically, almost as if it's avoiding certain systems. Admiral Rose suddenly realized. Her voice carried across the silent chamber. "Look at the path. It curves around specific star types." Dr. Green, the Council's chief scientist, floated forward in his anti-gravity bubble. "Those are all high-gravity worlds," he noted, his bioluminescent spots pulsing with interest. "Worlds we classified as too dangerous for settlement. Deathworlds." The Admiral felt something she hadn't experienced in weeks: hope. "Access the ancient archives," she commanded. The room's AI responded immediately, projecting centuries of collected data into the air around them. As she searched through the records, a pattern emerged. Long ago, the first spacefaring races had encountered species from high-gravity worlds. These Deathworlders had been stronger, faster, and more resilient than any known life forms. But they had also been considered too violent, too primitive to join galactic society. There, Admiral Rose pointed to a small note in the archives. "Third spiral arm, yellow star system. Gravity 9.8 meters per second squared. A world the Ancient Ones called Earth." The room erupted in murmurs. Earth was known to all of them. A forbidden world, too dangerous to approach. Its atmosphere was a poisonous mix of nitrogen and oxygen. Its gravity would crush most Council species. Its surface experienced wild temperature swings and was regularly battered by storms, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions. And its people, humans, they had survived it all. "The Ancient Ones were wrong," Admiral Rose declared, her voice growing stronger. "We're not looking at primitive savages. We're looking at survivors, a species that evolved in conditions we can barely imagine." Captain Smith's tentacles curled nervously. "But Admiral, the quarantine protocols will doom us all if we don't act." She cut him off. "Look at the data. The swarm avoids high-gravity systems. It can't adapt to them. But humans, they've spent their entire evolution adapting to conditions we consider impossible." Dr. Green's spots flashed rapidly as he processed the idea. Their muscular density, their endurance, their ability to survive extreme conditions against the swarm, these wouldn't be disadvantages. They would be weapons. Admiral Rose turned to face the Council members. Behind her, the map showed the swarm's ever-advancing front, now just months away from the core worlds. Their finest technology had failed. Their strongest weapons had proved useless. Their most brilliant strategies had crumbled. "We have a choice," she said firmly. "We can maintain our protocols and watch our civilization fall, or we can admit that perhaps, just perhaps, what we need isn't more technology or better weapons. What we need is a species that knows how to survive against impossible odds. What we need is a Deathworlder." The Council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. On the main screen, another distress signal went dark as the swarm claimed another world. Time was running out. Admiral Rose gave the order that would change the galaxy forever. "Set course for Earth." Captain James Turner wiped sweat from his forehead as he pushed the experimental fighter jet to its limits. The morning sun glinted off his helmet visor as he pulled into a tight turn, testing how the new aircraft handled under extreme pressure. At 8G, most pilots would black out, but Turner had trained his whole life for this. "Control, this is Test Flight Alpha. The new stabilizers are holding steady," he reported, his voice calm despite the crushing forces. The radio crackled with static before responding. "Copy that, Alpha. How's the weight?" The controller's voice changed suddenly. Captain Turner returned to base immediately. "We have something on radar." Turner looked up through his canopy, and his breath caught in his throat. A massive ship, unlike anything he had ever seen, had appeared in the clear blue sky. It was beautiful in a strange way, its hull shimmering with colors that shouldn't exist. His fighter's warning systems remained silent. No radar lock, no hostile signals, just that impossible ship hanging in the air like a dream. "Control, are you seeing this?" Turner asked, maintaining his composure even as his heart raced. Years of training kicked in, and he carefully positioned his aircraft at a safe distance from the alien vessel. "All pilots, maintain current positions," came the order from General Brooks at command. "Do not engage. I repeat, do not engage." The alien ship's surface rippled like water, and a soft blue light surrounded Turner's fighter. He felt no fear, only an intense curiosity. His instruments showed he was being pulled toward an opening that had appeared in the larger vessel's side. "Control, I'm being drawn in by some kind of tractor beam," Turner reported calmly. "No signs of hostile intent. Request permission to maintain current course and establish first contact." There was a long pause before General Brooks responded. "Permission granted, Captain. You're the calmest voice on any channel right now. Make us proud." The landing bay inside the alien ship was massive, filled with strange aircraft, and bathed in soft purple light. Turner set his fighter down gently, noticing that the artificial gravity felt slightly weaker than Earth's natural pull. As he climbed out of his cockpit, 3 figures approached. 2 were tall and silver-skinned, with 4 eyes that blinked in sequence. The third floated in what looked like a bubble of water. Turner removed his helmet and stood straight, showing no sign of fear or aggression. "Welcome," the silver-skinned female spoke in perfect English. "I am Admiral Rose of the Galactic Council. Your composure is remarkable." Turner smiled slightly. "Thank you, Admiral. Captain James Turner, Earth Defense Force test pilot. I take it this isn't a casual visit." The floating alien spots glowed brightly. "Fascinating," it said. "Your heart rate and stress indicators are barely elevated. Most species would be in complete panic by now." "We've been preparing for first contact for generations," Turner replied. "Though I admit, I didn't expect it during a test flight." Admiral Rose stepped forward. "Captain Turner, we've come seeking help. Our civilization faces extinction from a force we cannot defeat. We believe your people, humans, might be our last hope." Turner listened as they explained about the Void Swarm, the failed attempts to stop it, and why they thought humans might be different. As they spoke, more alien crew members gathered, watching him with obvious curiosity. One of them dropped a tool, creating a loud clang. While every alien in the bay jumped or flinched, Turner's only reaction was a quick glance toward the sound before returning his attention to the Admiral. This small moment seemed to impress them even more than his calm landing. "You live on a world we classified as too dangerous to approach," Admiral Rose explained. "Your gravity, your weather, your very atmosphere. We considered them all lethal. But these conditions have made your species incredibly resilient. The very traits we once feared might be exactly what we need." Turner thought about Earth's long history of survival against natural disasters, about humanity's endless ability to adapt and overcome. He thought about the responsibility now resting on his shoulders as humanity's first contact with alien life. "Admiral," he said firmly, "if your civilization needs help, I think you'll find that humans are very good at beating impossible odds. Let me contact our leaders. We have a lot to discuss." The fate of two civilizations now hung in the balance of this chance meeting between a test pilot and a desperate admiral high above the death world called Earth. Dr. Blue's research lab aboard the Galactic Council's science vessel hummed with activity. Through the transparent walls of his water bubble, he watched in amazement as Captain Turner completed his 10th hour in the testing chamber. "Impossible," muttered his assistant, checking the readings for the 5th time. "He's been awake for 36 hours, and his mental performance has only dropped by 12%. "Not impossible," Dr. Blue corrected, his bioluminescent spots pulsing with excitement. "Just impossible for us. Look at his cellular structure." The main screen showed a magnified view of Turner's cells. Unlike the neat, orderly structures of most galactic species, human cells seemed to buzz with barely contained energy. They responded to stress not by breaking down, but by getting stronger. Turner stepped out of the chamber, sweating but smiling. "How's that for endurance?" he asked, grabbing a water bottle. The simple act of him drinking what other species considered a dangerous corrosive compound still made the lab assistants nervous. "Captain," Dr. Blue floated closer, "your species is extraordinary. When you're injured, your body doesn't just heal. It rebuilds stronger than before. When you're tired, you can still function. When you're stressed, you become more alert instead of shutting down." Turner shrugged. "That's just how we survive on Earth. You should see what happens when humans get competitive about sports." The lab door opened, and Admiral Rose entered with several other human volunteers, soldiers, pilots, and scientists who had agreed to help with the research. Dr. Blue had been amazed the humans would willingly subject themselves to stress tests just to help understand their own limits. "Doctor," the Admiral asked, "what have you learned?" Dr. Blue activated the main display, showing comparison charts between humans and other species. "Everything we thought was primitive about humans is actually advanced adaptation. Look at their bones, dense enough to support them in high gravity, but flexible enough to absorb impacts that would shatter our skeletons." He switched to another display. "Their muscles don't just provide strength, they're incredibly efficient. Humans can keep moving long after most species would collapse from exhaustion. They can survive extreme temperature changes, repair damage that would kill most of us, and adapt to almost any environment. But that's not even the most remarkable thing," he continued, his spots glowing brighter with each word. "It's their minds. Humans don't freeze when faced with the unexpected, they improvise. They don't break under pressure, they focus. The very conditions that we thought made Earth uninhabitable have created perfect survivors." One of the human scientists, Dr. Wells, spoke up. "You mean our adrenaline response? That's just basic biology for us." "Basic?" Dr. Blue's spots flashed rapidly. "Your basic biology gives you abilities that most species would consider supernatural. In a crisis, you become stronger, faster, and more alert. You can ignore pain, think quickly, and keep fighting long after your bodies should have given up." Admiral Rose walked to the center of the lab. "And the Void Swarm? How does this help us fight them?" Dr. Blue displayed the latest battle data. "The swarm adapts to patterns, to technology, to predictable responses. But humans are anything but predictable. They can outthink the swarm's hive mind because they don't all think alike. They can outfight it because they don't give up. They can outlast it because they're used to surviving against impossible odds." Turner looked at the battle footage thoughtfully. "So our primitive survival instincts might be exactly what you need." "More than that," Dr. Blue said. "Your species treats survival itself as a challenge to overcome, not just a state of existence. Where we see impossible conditions, you see opportunities to adapt and grow stronger." Admiral Rose's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Then we need to start training immediately. Doctor, can you help design a program that combines human abilities with our technology?" "Better than that," Dr. Blue replied, his spots now pulsing with a steady, determined glow. I think we can learn from humans how to awaken similar traits in our own species. They won't just help us survive, they'll teach us how to become survivors ourselves. As the humans and aliens began planning their next steps, Dr. Blue made one final note in his research log. Perhaps we were wrong to call Earth a death world. It's not a world of death at all. It's a world that teaches life how to become unstoppable. The massive training simulator hummed to life as Captain Turner watched the mixed group of human and alien pilots strap into their cockpits. After 3 weeks of preparation, it was time to see if their plan would work. Remember, Turner's voice carried through the comm system. We're not just teaching you to fly. We're teaching you to think like Deathworlders. The alien pilots, representing 6 different species from across the galaxy, nodded nervously. Their ships were modified to protect them from high-G forces, but nothing could fully prepare them for what was coming. Begin simulation, Turner ordered, starting at 2G and increasing slowly. The massive chamber filled with the sound of engines as 12 ships lifted off. Through the control room window, Turner could see Dr. Blue floating in his bubble, taking readings of everyone's vital signs. Excellent form, Turner commented as the ships began basic maneuvers, now increasing to 3G. The effect was immediate. While the human pilots maintained perfect formation, the alien ships began to wobble. Their natural instincts fought against the increased pressure. Don't fight the G-force, Turner coached. Work with it, like surfing a wave. Humans learned this from riding horses and sailing ships long before we had aircraft. One of the alien pilots, Lieutenant Swift, surprised everyone by stabilizing first. His silver skin gleamed with effort, but his ship steadied. Well done, Swift, Turner encouraged. You're adapting faster than expected. What's different? I stopped trying to calculate the perfect response, Swift replied, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. I'm letting my body feel the movement like you taught us. Dr. Blue's spots flashed excitedly. Fascinating. He's accessing more primitive brain functions, just like humans do instinctively. The training continued, pushing boundaries neither species had explored before. When an artificial emergency was triggered, the differences in response became clear. The human pilots reacted instantly, almost before their conscious minds registered the danger. The aliens hesitated for crucial seconds, their highly evolved brains trying to analyze the situation perfectly. Stop thinking, Turner called out. React first, think second. Trust your instincts. Slowly, the alien pilots began to understand. They learned to harness what their species had buried under millions of years of evolution, the raw survival instincts that humans used every day. During the break, Turner gathered everyone in the briefing room. The wall screens showed their flight patterns, comparing the smooth lines of human flights with the increasingly improved alien maneuvers. You see the difference? He asked, pointing to the data. Humans don't fly perfectly. We make tiny corrections constantly. That's what keeps us alive. Perfect is predictable. Predictable is dead. One of the alien pilots raised a tentacle. But the void swarm, it adapts to patterns. Won't it learn our movements? Turner smiled. That's exactly why we need both approaches. Your precision combined with our instincts. Your technology protecting our fragile bodies. Your planning supporting our split-second decisions. Dr. Blue floated forward, his spots pulsing with understanding. It's not about making them fight like humans, he explained. It's about teaching them when to think and when to react, when to be precise and when to be unpredictable. The afternoon session proved his point. As the gravity increased to 6G, something remarkable happened. The alien pilots stopped trying to copy human techniques exactly. Instead, they began developing their own styles, mixing their natural abilities with their newly awakened instincts. Admiral Rose watched from the observation deck, her 4 eyes tracking every movement. They're beginning to understand, she said quietly. Earth didn't make humans strong by being safe. It made them strong by being dangerous. The day ended with a simulated swarm attack. This time, When the emergency alarms blared, every pilot, human and alien, reacted instantly. Their ships moved in patterns that were neither purely instinctive nor completely calculated, but a perfect blend of both. "This is what will save us," Turner announced as they landed. "Not by becoming exactly like each other, but by learning from each other. The swarm adapts to patterns, but there won't be any patterns to adapt to if every pilot flies differently." As the tired but proud pilots left the simulator, Dr. Blue made a final note. Day 23 of training. The impossible has become possible. The unthinkable has become natural. And our greatest weakness, our differences, has become our greatest strength. Red warning lights flashed throughout the flagship as Admiral Rose's voice echoed through every ship in the fleet. Swarm scouts detected. All pilots to battle stations. Captain Turner ran to his fighter, heart pounding but mind clear. Around him, human and alien pilots rushed to their ships. 2 months of training was about to be tested in real combat. "Remember your training." Turner spoke into the squadron comm as his engines powered up. "Don't think like machines. Don't follow patterns. Trust your instincts." Through the launch bay's force field, he could see them. 3 massive swarm ships, their black surfaces seeming to swallow light itself. Each one was the size of a small moon, bristling with biological weapons that had destroyed countless civilizations. "Raptor Squadron, launch," Turner ordered. 6 human pilots and 6 alien pilots shot out of the bay in perfect formation. Behind them, dozens more squadrons followed, representing the last hope of the Galactic Alliance. Lieutenant Swift's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, the swarm ships are releasing fighters. Thousands of them. Hold formation until my mark," Turner replied calmly. The swarm fighters looked like giant metal insects, moving with terrifying precision. "Remember, they adapt to patterns, so don't give them any." The first wave of swarm fighters attacked. Their energy beams sliced through space, following predicted flight paths. But the combined human-alien squadron wasn't where they were supposed to be. "Break formation, random attack pattern Delta." Turner rolled his ship hard right while firing, his human muscles fighting the G-forces. Around him, the squadron split apart, each pilot flying in their own unique way. The swarm fighters faltered, their hive mind struggling to predict 12 different fighting styles at once. Swift's ship spun in a way that should have been impossible, combining alien technology with human-inspired unpredictability. "It's working." Dr. Blue's excited voice came from the flagship. "The swarm can't adapt to your movements. They're trying to find patterns that don't exist." Turner dove through a debris field, using techniques learned from Earth's air combat history. 3 swarm fighters followed him, their superior technology matching his every move. But then he did something no computer could predict. He cut his engines. His fighter flipped end over end, thrusters firing in short bursts. The maneuver would have knocked out most alien pilots, but Turner's Deathworlder physiology could handle it. He destroyed all 3 pursuers before they could adapt. "Watch this," Swift called out. The alien pilot combined his species' natural ability to process complex mathematics with human instinct. His ship danced through space in moves that looked random but were precisely calculated to be unpredictable. The battle raged for hours. The swarm, used to fighting enemies who relied on either pure technology or pure instinct, couldn't handle opponents who used both. Every time their hive mind started to recognize a pattern, the pilots would switch tactics. "Captain," Admiral Rose's voice cut through the battle chatter. "The main swarm ships are retreating. You've done it." Turner watched as the massive black ships turned away, leaving their destroyed fighters behind. The combined squadron had proved that the Deathworlder approach worked. Back on the flagship, the celebration was interrupted by Dr. Blue's urgent analysis. "Look at this data." His spots pulsed rapidly. "The swarm ships aren't just retreating. They're sending signals to their main fleet." Admiral Rose's 4 eyes narrowed. "What kind of signals?" "They're adapting." Dr. Blue replied. But not like before. They're trying to understand how our pilots could be so unpredictable. They've never encountered this kind of resistance. Turner looked at the battle recordings. Then we'll keep changing. Humans have been adapting to threats for our entire history. It's what Deathworlders do. Lieutenant Swift floated nearby, his silver skin still shining with excitement from the battle. We'll need new tactics, new combinations. The swarm will be stronger next time. No, Turner corrected with a smile. They'll be different next time. But so will we. That's the real lesson of Earth. It's not about being the strongest. It's about never stopping to adapt, never becoming predictable. As the fleet regrouped and began planning for the next battle, one thing was clear. The age-old weakness of being from a death world had become humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. The power to face the impossible and find a way to survive. Captain Turner stared at his brain scans on the massive screen in Dr. Blue's laboratory. The images pulsed with intense red and yellow colors, showing activity patterns unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. There, Dr. Blue's spots flashed excitedly. Watch what happens when we simulate danger. The scan erupted in brilliant colors as Turner's brain responded to the test. Your fight or flight response. It's not just chemical. It creates energy patterns. Turner rubbed his chin thoughtfully. You mean our adrenaline rushes? Every human gets them. It's how we survived on Earth. Admiral Rose stepped closer to the screen, all four eyes focused intently. Doctor, explain what you've discovered. Dr. Blue's water bubble rippled with excitement as he pulled up more data. When humans face danger, their bodies don't just prepare for action. They create a unique energy signature. It's similar to the frequencies we've detected from the swarm's hive mind, but different. Chaotic, unpredictable. Lieutenant Swift entered the lab, his silver skin reflecting the screen's glow. Like how they'd fought in our first battle. Always changing, never following patterns. Exactly. Dr. Blue pressed several controls, bringing up a comparison. Look at these readings. The swarm's hive mind operates on precise, predictable frequencies. But human stress responses generate waves that disrupt those patterns. Turner's eyes widened as he understood. You're saying our natural survival responses could interfere with their communication. Better than that. Dr. Blue's spots pulsed rapidly. We can amplify it. Your ship's neural interface, the one that helps you control your fighter, it picks up these signals. If we modify it. Admiral Rose finished the thought. We could broadcast the human survival response across space, disrupting the swarm's ability to coordinate. The lab burst into activity. Engineers and scientists from a dozen worlds worked alongside humans, combining technologies in ways never imagined before. They took the neural interfaces designed for ship control and modified them to amplify human stress responses. Turner volunteered to test the first prototype. He sat in a modified cockpit while Dr. Blue monitored the readings. Remember, Dr. Blue instructed, think about survival. About fighting impossible odds. About never giving up. Turner closed his eyes and thought about Earth. About storms and earthquakes. About predators and prey. About all the challenges that had shaped humanity. The monitors suddenly spiked. Amazing. Dr. Blue's spots nearly white with excitement. The energy output is 10 times stronger than we predicted. Lieutenant Swift, bring in the test sample. Swift carried a small container holding a piece of captured swarm technology. As Turner's amplified survival signals reached it, the black material began to vibrate, and then crack. It's working, Admiral Rose whispered. Their biological technology can't handle the chaos of human survival responses. But there was a problem. The first pilots to test the system could only maintain the necessary emotional state for short periods. The intense focus was exhausting. We need something more, Turner said, wiping sweat from his forehead. Something that can keep the signal strong longer. Dr. Blue floated thoughtfully in his bubble. What if we combine multiple human responses? Not just survival, but all the emotions that make humans unique. They'd brought in more pilots, each focusing on different aspects of human experience. Some thought about protecting others, some about exploring the unknown, some about overcoming challenges. When their signals combined, the effect was devastating to swarm technology. "This is it," Admiral Rose declared, watching the test results. "The perfect weapon against the swarm. Not just technology, not just biology, but the very essence of what makes humans different from any other species." Turner looked at the modified fighters, now equipped with the new human emotion amplifiers. "So our greatest weapon isn't our strength or our technology," he said with a smile. "It's our messy, chaotic, emotional human nature. The very things that made us avoid your world," Swift added, "are the things that will save us all." Dr. Blue made his final adjustments to the system. "We'll install these in every fighter in the fleet. When the swarm comes again, they won't face just ships and weapons. They'll face the combined survival drive of humanity, amplified and weaponized." As the crews rushed to prepare for the coming battle, Admiral Rose looked at the humans working alongside her people. "Perhaps," she said quietly, "we should stop calling Earth a death world. It's a world that teaches life how to triumph over death itself." The ultimate weapon was ready. Now they just had to hope it would be enough for the final battle that was coming. The galactic core blazed in the distance as the combined fleet faced the largest swarm concentration ever seen. Thousands of massive black ships filled space like a dark cloud blocking out the stars. Captain Turner sat in his fighter's cockpit, the new emotion amplifier humming softly. Around him, hundreds of human and alien pilots prepared for the battle that would decide the fate of the galaxy. "All ships report ready." Admiral Rose's voice came through clear and strong. "Remember, everything we've learned has led to this moment." Dr. Blue's readings appeared on Turner's screen. "The swarm's hive mind is stronger here than ever before. They've adapted to our previous tactics, but they haven't seen everything yet." Turner looked at his squadron. 6 humans and 6 aliens, their ships modified with the new technology that would turn human emotions into a weapon. "Raptor Squadron, sound off." "Ready." Lieutenant Swift replied first, his silver skin gleaming in his cockpit. The others followed, each voice steady despite the overwhelming odds they faced. The swarm struck first. Millions of fighter-sized creatures poured out of the larger ships, their movements perfectly coordinated. But this time, the defenders were ready. "Activate emotion amplifiers," Turner commanded. "Remember your training. Each of you focus on different feelings. Make it chaos." The human pilots reached deep into their Deathworlder heritage. Some focused on raw survival instinct, others on the drive to protect, to explore, to overcome. The amplifiers took these purely human responses and broadcast them across space. The effect was immediate. The first wave of swarm fighters began to twitch and spin erratically. Their perfect formation broke apart as the chaotic human emotions disrupted their hive mind connection. "It's working," Dr. Blue's excited voice called out. "Their biological technology can't handle the unpredictability of human emotional responses." But the swarm was learning, adapting. The larger ships began to generate shields that blocked the emotional interference. "They're evolving too fast," Admiral Rose warned. "The amplifiers alone won't be enough." Turner watched as the swarm's countermeasures spread. Then he remembered something from Earth's history. "Swift, remember the training simulations when we combined alien precision with human instinct?" "Yes," Swift responded instantly. "You mean?" "Exactly. Everyone, new plan. Aliens, calculate perfect attack vectors. Humans, do the exact opposite of what the math says. Let's give them order and chaos at the same time." The combined squadron split into pairs, each alien pilot flying with precise calculations while their human partner flew purely on instinct. The swarm's hive mind couldn't cope with both patterns at once. "The shield frequencies are destabilizing," Dr. Blue reported. "Keep going." Turner pushed his fighter into a series of maneuvers that defied logic, while Swift flew beside him with mathematical precision. Their contrasting styles created a disruption that ripped through the swarm's defenses. "We need to strike at their center," Admiral Rose called out. "The main control ship, if we can reach it." Turner saw the chance. "Raptor Squadron, follow me. Everyone else, keep them busy." They dove toward the heart of the swarm fleet, where a ship larger than all the others pulsed with dark energy. Human emotion amplifiers working at full power, alien technology pushed beyond its limits. They struck at the very core of the hive mind. The massive ship tried to adapt, tried to find patterns to counter. But there were no patterns, only the pure chaos of human survival instinct backed by alien precision. The combination proved too much. The control ship's surface began to crack, dark energy spilling out as its biological technology failed under the assault of pure human emotion. Around it, the rest of the swarm fleet began to lose cohesion. "Keep going," Turner shouted, pushing through exhaustion. "Pour everything you have into the amplifiers, every emotion, every instinct. The combined power of 100 different human feelings, fear, hope, determination, courage, amplified and broadcast directly into the heart of the swarm, became too much for the hive mind to handle." The control ship erupted in a massive explosion, and the entire swarm fleet fell into chaos. Hours later, as the fleet celebrated their victory, Admiral Rose found Turner and Swift looking out at the stars. "You did it," she said simply. "Humanity's primitive emotions combined with our technology. It was the answer all along." Turner smiled. "Not just human emotions, human and alien cooperation. We won because we learned from each other. You taught us to be precise when needed, and we taught you to be chaotic when necessary." Dr. Blue floated up, his spots glowing softly. "Perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all. Earth isn't just a death world that creates survivors. It's a world that teaches the most important survival trait of all: the ability to adapt, to change, and to work together." The galaxy was safe, and a new age of cooperation between humans and aliens had begun, all because they had taken a chance on a species from a world they once feared.